Know, O friend, that each melody of the Qur'an assumes a new attitude and mood according to the level of the audience it is guiding. Try to assume the mood of the intermediaries ranging from Gabriel, who brought it to the Prophet, to the one from whom you hear it directly. While listening to its recitation, try to hear it as if you were listening to the Prophet reciting it at the summit of prophethood to all people and other beings. Then assume the manner of Gabriel while he recites it to the Prophet on the highest horizon. Finally, try to hear it as if you were listening to it from behind 70,000 veils from the eternally speaking one who speaks to the Prophet at the distance of 2 bows' length. Know, O friend, that your share of consciousness and knowledge is proportional to your share in your existence, for there is no waste in existence. Cause is proportionate to effect and power to result. When your share in your existence is compared to that of the one who created you, it is like a hair compared to a thick rope, a fiber compared to cloth. When your consciousness and knowledge of yourself is compared to your Creator's knowledge and sight of you, they are a firefly's light at midday. You are in the darkness of indifference, and the night of nature or naturalism shows you your light as if it is a piercing star. Know, O friend, that between God's acts is a proportion, and between His works is a similarity. His names are reflected on one another, His attributes are intermixed, and His essential qualities are commingled with one another. However, each has a particular attitude and way of manifestation and operation, with the others dependent on and subordinate to it. In the sphere of one's manifestation and operation, rule and consequence are not attributed to others, nor should others' imprints and works be sought from that one. So, when you look at inanimate objects, first consider his power and grandeur, and then you will see the other names' manifestations as subordinate to this. When you look at animals, first consider the names that are most manifested on them. He created and established a measure for all things. Know, O friend, that there is no force and strength save with God, has a relation or concern with each stage you undergo during your creation, from the stage of being a component of elements in nature to that of being a believing human being. In connection with each stage, and for the satisfaction of each sense and faculty, you have different needs and expectations and suffer different pains. There is no force to bring forth from non-existence and no strength to give existence save with God. There is no force to save from decay and no strength to give permanence save with God. There is no force to cause harm and no strength to give benefit save with God. There is no force to protect one from misfortune and no strength to meet needs save with God. There is no force to enable one to resist sin and no strength to enable one to continue his or her worship of and obedience to Him save with God. There is no force to save one from pain and torment and no strength to bestow bounties save with God. There is no force to save one from evil and no strength to earn grace and do good save with God. There is no force to enable one to endure pain and no strength to enable one to attain his or her ambitions save with God. There is no force to remove the veil of darkness and no strength to send illuminating lights save with God, the high, the grand. Know, O friend, that whoever trusts God and relies upon Him, He is sufficient for him to protect against evil and attain all good. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for He is our owner and the owner of all things. Therefore, if we submit ourselves to Him, it will be as if everything is in our possession. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for He is the absolutely perfect one, and perfection is loved by Him. It is worth being sacrificed for the sake of that perfection. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for He is the all-majestic and all-beautiful one, having absolute perfection. Beauty is loved by Him, and for the sake of the zeal and ecstasy produced by the renewals that His beauty's manifestations bring about, we die smiling and are revived rejoicing. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for He is the necessarily existent one who gives existence to all things. Our knowledge of the absolute necessity of His existence makes everything that exists, except God, subservient to us and bestows on us eternal existence. Our ignorance or denial of His necessary existence leaves us enveloped by the darkness of non-existence. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for He is everlasting and eternal, uncontained by time and space. All things are perishable except His face. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for the world is transient and life is ephemeral. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for without Him all pleasure in the world changes into pain. By turning to Him and connecting with His mercy, one is saved from the pain of being mortal, and fleeting pleasures gain permanence. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for one receives the lights of existence through Him, while without Him one falls into the darkness of non-existence. God is sufficient for us, and what a good guardian He is, for if we recognize Him and refer our needs and complaints to Him, He satisfies them. If we turn to causes and refer our needs and complaints to them, although causes are blind and deaf and cannot see or hear us, we are confused and lost. We are like one who, although allowed to refer complaints directly to the king who can answer them instantly, instead asks the whole population of the country, one by one, for help. Know, O friend, that among the Qur'an's miraculous subtleties and evidence that it is an all-encompassing mercy for creation are the following. Just as each one of us has his or her own world within this world, we also have a Qur'an that addresses our individual temperaments, educates us, cures us of our spiritual diseases, and answers our intellectual quests. Among the Qur'an's merits of guidance are the following. There is a perfect coherence, consistency, and connection among its verses, which enables each person to select specific verses for guidance and to cure personal spiritual diseases. This is what scholars and spiritual guides belonging to different schools do. Although the Qur'an was revealed in parts and on different occasions, its verses are arranged like the beads of a necklace in perfect harmony and coherence. Its division into verses and chapters does not cause discord and disunity, and does not distract readers from its main purposes. Its transition to other verses or groups of verses causes no disruption. Most of its verses are subtly interlinked with one another so that they can be mentioned together or gathered together to form, for example, a compilation of supplications. The verses of Surah Al-Ikhlas corroborate one another as they are both arguments for one another and conclusions to be reached from those arguments. Similarly, because of its verses in a relation and comprehensive meaning, there are innumerable Qur'ans within the single Qur'an, and a book is formed around each of its truths. O God, revealer of the Qur'an, for the sake of the Qur'an, make the Qur'an my intimate friend during my life, and following my death, and a light in my heart and my grave. There is no deity but God. Muhammad is his messenger. An addendum to the addendum. In the name of God, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate. All praise be to God, the All-Merciful, among the greatest fruits of the sacred tree of whose mercy are our Master Muhammad and paradise, both hanging down to this world and the next. He is the all-powerful one. All these ever-renewed, spectacular creatures and heavenly objects are witnesses of His Lordship. These multicolored plants and diverse animals in the garden of earth are marvels of His art and evidence of His divinity. These lustrous flowers, and with all their leaves, blossoms, and fruits, these fruit-bearing trees are miracles of His power and proofs of His mercy. All testify that He is powerful over all things. Past events are miracles of His power, indicating that He can make their lights in the future. Nothing that has happened or will happen is beyond His power's decree. In relation to Him, the tiniest particles and the largest suns are the same. He is the evident truth, one, single. In their various tones, the universe's particles and components point to His absolute beauty and say, though we differ in expressing you have the same beauty, whatever exists in the universe points to that beauty. With all its chapters, sections, paragraphs, sentences, words, and letters, the book of the universe reads the signs of His absolute necessary existence and unity, and its lines announce, reflect upon the lines of the book of the universe, for they are letters to you from the highest realm. Peace and blessings be upon our Master Muhammad and on all his family and companions. O rebellious Sayyid, look at yourself instead of what is not for you. What are you? What is your value? What do you rely on? You are an embodiment of impotence and neediness, for whatever you have is confirmed on you by God. And yet you sleep and believe yourself to be awake. Your body is impotent, and your need is its spirit that incites it to move. With all that you have, you are an embodiment of God's favoring. Your life passes in sleep. Alas, I have drowned in a drop that has become an ocean swallowing me. I am lost in a moment that has become like an eternity for me. I imagine that this flash of life is a shining sun that will never set. O wretched Sayyid, your capital is only about $60, of which you have already spent $45 to satisfy your worldly needs. You have forgotten and neglected your house, and your property has become a debt for you to pay and a fire. As for the remaining $15, it is doubtful whether you will be able to spend a part of it or any of it at all. Whatever you spend of it, spend it on your permanent house. Let 1/3 of it, at least, be a light for you. Your ignorance and loss are great, for you have spent most of your capital on this passing life, and so what remains for your eternal abode is insignificant. You are a heedless traveler, for you have departed already from your home and town and are about to step out of this transcendent world. Know, O friend, that those who say things are formed by themselves, causes have brought it about, or nature requires it to be so, cause much confusion, for such statements are false. You exist. So, according to the first statement, you are your own creature. According to the second one, material causes have brought you about. According to the last one, some unconscious, deaf, and blind laws or forces attributed to nature or lifeless things called nature record your existence. But the truth is that you are a creature of God, the Almighty. As for the first statement, things cannot be formed by themselves, because each particle or atom forming your body would have to have an eye to see your whole body and all of creation, as well as consciousness to be aware of all requirements of life and existence. Your perfect composition, the perfection of art in you, requires this, for all particles of existence are in vital and substantial relations with each other and with all creation. To print a book, a printing house must have as many iron letters or keys as needed to print it. If you made yourself, you must contain as many molds as the number of atoms in you, for they are in conscious relation and communication with one another. Your composition is uniform, meaning that all parts are enclosed in a relation with each other. Therefore, like the stones forming an arch or a dome, all your atoms or building blocks should be both dominant over and dominated by one another. They also should be like the manifestations of the names and attributes of the one who rolls up the heavens like a scroll rolled up for books, both opposite and complementary to each other. Causes cannot create anything by themselves. For example, if bottles containing medical ingredients fall off the shelf and become mixed on the floor, would the desired medicine be produced? Using the same analogy, could you be formed by chance or random causes? How could innumerable deaf, blind, and unconscious causes come together and create something that has perfect order? By coming together, they only increase in deafness and blindness. Each human being is a perfect work of art, intelligent, conscious, and equipped with endless and extremely complex feelings, senses, and faculties, and feeling infinite need. How can that which is deaf, blind, and unconscious bestow hearing, sight, and consciousness on something else? Assume that innumerable causes come together in a most orderly fashion and in exact measure to create a cell in your eye. With the same amount of effort, then the universe's basic parts or elements, including huge heavenly objects, should be able to assemble themselves in your palm or in each of your cells. Why? Because if you work in a house, this means the house contains you. All of the universe's parts and contents are related to humanity. So, if causes created you, the entire universe should be able to operate within each of your body's parts and be contained by one of your cells. This is a most inconceivable sophistry. Nature cannot create because it is something supposed to exist, a name given by those who do not know the real facts of the matter. However, in its true meaning, it is a divine art, a painting by the All-Merciful. Natural forces are only manifestations of the power of the All-Merciful, All-Knowing, All-Aware, All-Willing. Chance is only a mistaken supposition put forward by those who are unaware of or deny the single maker. In many of my treatises included in this book, I have argued that this wonderful art that constitutes the essence of what they call nature is really the work of the power of the all-aware, all-seeing, having all the attributes of perfection. Could something restricted, solid, inanimate, whose existence or non-existence is equally possible, meaning that one must prefer its existence and create it, have woven the universe's garment? Could a knot have participated in weaving these perfectly designed and adorned garments in which those words are dressed? The only explanation for your existence and that of creation is that everything that has been created is a creature of an eternal maker, and that they all testify to this fact. Among these witnesses is the visible, corporeal universe with all its particles and compounds that testifies to him in 55 tones, explained in the 4th treatise. There are other witnesses. The Qur'an and all other revealed books, the writings of saints and believers in God's existence and unity, all that exists and happens in the universe, the Lord of creation and all other prophets, saints and angels, Prophet Muhammad, humanity and jinn with all their natural needs, and God, all of this testify that there is no deity but He. Know, O friend, that the falsehood of attributing creation to things themselves, nature, or causes can be explained through the example of a fruit-bearing tree. If you attribute this tree to God, the one and single, you attribute it to its seed and to the laws of germination, creation, and growth issuing from the necessarily existing being, the one and single, and on which that seed depends. The tree is dependent on the laws issuing from a single creator because of the ease coming from the oneness of Him who governs its germination, growth, and life. It is just as easy for that single creator to grow that seed into a large coconut palm bearing countless fruits, or into a very small one with only a few fruits. But if you attribute a tree to itself, causes, or nature, then each fruit, blossom, leaf, branch, and twig on it would need whatever the whole tree does, for each part is an epitome of a whole. Thus, whatever is needed by the whole is needed by each part. Consider these two alternatives. The first one, which is done by God with perfect ease, makes creation necessary and inevitable, whereas the second one is so unbelievably difficult that it renders the creation of anything inconceivable. In short, if you attribute creation to things themselves, you must accept that every cell of your body can encompass the universe. If you attribute creation to material causes, you must affirm that every cell is like a room in which all causes operating in the universe are included, for all cells are the same and display the same structure. This uniformity leads you to unity in diversity, to the interrelatedness seen in the universe, and therefore to the Maker's unity. Something unified, displaying uniformity, and composed of countless interrelated parts in a basic relationship with each other could not have been created by more than one creator. How can a cell in which even a gnat's two wings cannot be included contain the many material, bodily causes needed for it to function? Something having external existence is more established, stable, and fixed than something having only an ideal existence. A tiny particle of the former can contain a mountain of the latter. For example, a mountain's reflection can fit into a small mirror. Since whatever exists is contingent, its existence or non-existence was equally possible. Its coming into existence was the result of a preference by one having the absolute authority of preference, the one with an absolutely necessary existence without which nothing could exist. Therefore, that necessary existence is more established, stable, and fixed than all material existence. It is the real existence, and so cannot be contained by contingent existence. Contingent things, whatever exists other than the necessarily existent one, are reflected in the mirror of the eternal, all-encompassing knowledge. Their real existence consists in their existence in that knowledge. They come into material existence through the manifestation of the lights of necessary existence, and thus show the necessarily existing one's existence. Their material existence in the corporeal world, the result of their transference from the all-encompassing sphere of knowledge, can never be of the same essence and quality or of the same existential degree as that of real existence. Know, O friend, that solids, material, and corporeal things are acted on and affected by immaterial things or things of light. Look at sunlight and a mountain. The former comes from the sky and operates on earth freely, while the latter, despite its huge size, can do nothing and has no effect on its environment. The subtler and more composed of light something is, the more effective and active it is, the more material and solid something is, the more susceptible it is to being acted upon and affected. We can conclude from this that the creator of causes and effects is He who is the light of lights. Nothing is like Him. He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. Vision comprehends Him not, but He comprehends all vision. He is the all-subtle, the all-aware. Know, O friend, that reflecting on creation and God's signs in the universe is like light, for it removes or melts your frozen heedlessness to an unawareness of God. Being careful and attentive is like fire, for it burns your dried rubbish of doubt and suspicion about Him. However, when you reflect on yourself and on your inner world, feelings, emotions, faculties, and conscience, reflect deeply as the divine name the inward wants you to do so. The perfection of art is seen in its details and ramifications. When you reflect on the outer world, do so briefly and superficially, for you only need to understand the foundations upon which it is based. This is what the name the outward requires, for the splendor of art becomes more evident and more dazzling when looked on and examined as a whole. The outer world is very spacious and has no shores. If you dive into it, you may drown. If you go deep in your inner world, but make a brief and fast journey in the outer world, you can approach unity. Individual parts acquire wholeness, compounds become composites, and composites become unified. From this unity issues the light of conviction of unity. If you only make a brief and superficial examination of your inner world, while going into detail during your travels in the outer world, the diversity of things will engender confusion and doubt. This will strengthen your ego and ingrain heedlessness in you, developments that will make you inclined to naturalism and eventually away from the diversity of things and to misguidance. O God, do not include us among the misguided. Amen. Know, O friend, that it is narrated that when people move with greed, their provision stops. When they stop showing greed, their provision moves. This explains a profound truth. Trees do not move, and their provision comes to them. Animals move with greed, and their provision is motionless on the stems of plants. With its diverse colors and smells, a plant invites hungry animals to itself and rouses them to move toward it. Know, O friend, that human beings are strange creatures. They heedlessly abandon a great good if they think it might harm them even a small way. But when it comes to true guidance, proven by thousands of proofs, they abandon it due to a slight doubt and embrace misguidance. If we are so cautious that we abandon a thing that might harm us only marginally, why do we embrace that which will cause us great harm in the hereafter? Know, O friend, that the human soul has endless need and suffers endless pain. It has an appetite for endless pleasure and nourishes endless ambition. Even compassion may cause endless pain for a misguided soul because of its unbelief in God and its distrust in His destiny and true compassion. So you cannot ask, am I so valuable and worth so much that God will destroy this world and then rebuild it to judge me therein?